don't we go ahead and get rolling? Since we've got pretty much everybody who's registered online, it looks like a couple people still signing in, but I want to go ahead and get started, and we should be in pretty good shape. Okay, let me do a quick intro, and then we'll kind of dive right in. First of all, I've got Ethan on the line, solving any technical questions or answering anything I can answer. The point of being here today, of course, is to do some orientation and training around our direct member sign-up service. Very excited to get this thing rolled out for you guys. A lot of hard work. The team's done an amazing job over the last couple of weeks, just really heads down on this and thinking through the proper design and how to make this thing work best for you. So we're going to go through a little orientation, how the service works, how you use it. We'll deal with a few of the exceptions and different scenarios that we've thought through. Please post your questions if there are questions that you have, so that we can make sure that we address them. We have a few too many people on here for me to just open up audio, because I think people will just talk over each other. So we'll try to keep it into the chat session. If you do, just post your Q&A into the chat box, and we'll address any questions that you guys have. Without further ado, let me just do a quick screen share here, and then let's just start taking a look at what Emma Member Sign Up Direct looks like. As we've talked about during our orientation for this service and the work that we were doing, hopefully everybody is seeing my screen here. Let's make sure that that's happening correctly. And yeah. Okay, you guys should be seeing a member sign-up screen right now. So if for some reason that's not the case, please let me know. But I think you should be seeing an Emma logo at the top and the sign-up screen. And let me get my Q&A open here so I can see you guys at the same time. Okay, cool. All right, so taking a look at this screen, what I want to make sure you guys are seeing, I don't know, this is strange. I want to check this for a minute and make sure I'm sharing the correct stuff. Let me do this once again. Sorry, guys. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's talk a little bit about kind of how this process is going to work and what you guys need to do to get up and running. Everyone's who has requested direct member sign up is now configured. You should have received a message from us with the details about the URL to your sign up page. You'll have a link that will take you directly to a sign up page that will look very much like the one you're seeing now. It is a sign up page that will be branded for you. So instead of seeing a logo at the top that says Emma, you should see your local's logo up there. If you don't, or something doesn't seem right, please let us know. But basically everybody is now configured and up and running and should be really ready to go. If you're on this webinar and you don't have direct member sign up configured yet, the way to do that is to send a support ticket to us, let us know you want the service, and then we really just need two things from you. One is a copy of your logo so we can put it on the sign up page, and the second is information about what you want your default political contribution amount to be so that we can configure the page correctly. I know we've got a couple locals out there that still want to do this, and we'll probably have a couple more that need to get signed up. Okay, so how does this process work? You have a sign up page. This sign up page is going to have a link that goes with it, and you can send that link out any way you want. Email it, text it, put it on your website, do whatever you want to promote this member sign up. I'm going to encourage locals to potentially register their own URL to make it even simpler. You can see on our demo system that the link is direct.signup.goemma.com. That's fine, but if I'm reading that out to somebody over the phone, that's a little bit cumbersome. You might want to register a domain specifically for this, for your purpose, and I've already talked to a couple locals about that. Maybe you just, if you're local 75, maybe you go register join75.org, or if you're local 876, maybe you register ilove876.org, and you just point that to your sign up screen. By the way, I've looked at both of those URLs, and both of them are available for $8 if you want to go register them. So you can go do that and point that address at the sign up page if you want to. And that might make it easier for you to just over the phone say, hey, I got a new member. Just go to join876.org and you'll get in, rather than reading off a more cumbersome URL. Totally your choice. The site is there. You can do whatever you want with it. Okay, so how does a sign up work? It's pretty straightforward. A new member comes to this page and they have this information to enter: social security number, first name, last name, their work location, mobile phone number, email address, and then they have signature blocks for their terms of membership, for their dues checkoff authorization, and for their political contribution. Now, your form is going to look basically like this. The only difference is that the legal language will be different for each individual member or each individual local, because we've pulled in that legal language. Okay, so there's the sign up form. Now let's pop over to Emma. Now we're in our Emma demo system here, and one thing you need to notice is that there is a new module or a new collection to manage signups. It's an admin only feature, so you can't see this information unless you are an admin user. You go to the admin menu and go down to signups here. And when you do that, you're going to it's going to display for you a list view like this that shows you signups as they're occurring. Okay, when we're going to walk through how this works, but basically all new signups come into this signups collection, and then they must be approved by an administrator before an actual member record is created. That way, if you have duplicates or incomplete signups or there's some problem with them, they're not just jumping directly into your member database and cluttering things up. Keep it a little bit simpler. Okay, so let's go through one and just sort of see what it looks like. I'm going to just put in a dummy social security number. I'll put in a name. We'll register, Bob Jones. And Bob is, let's say, an employee at Kroger, and he works at Kroger store number 123. So it's going to specify Kroger 123 as the location. We need a mobile phone or email address for Bob, so we'll put that in. And then, of course, an email address, which we'll say is robert@someemail.com. So basic information, we're asking for only the bare minimum that a member needs to get signed up. So they won't be entering in all the other demographic information. We'll talk a little bit about how that can come, but a basic sign up is as simple as filling this out. And then Bob wants to sign his membership card here, or his membership authorization for terms of membership. If they are in favor in agreeing with dues checkoff authorization, they'll sign here for the dues checkoff, and then for a political contribution, another sign off here, right? So 3 signature pads, just like the ones that you would have in Emma. Now, one thing I want to show you is that I'm filling out this form. Okay, and as I'm doing this, I haven't submitted it yet. At the bottom, I have a submit application. But let's pop over to Emma for a minute and look at something. When I look at my signups collection in Emma, notice that Bob Jones is already here, right, at 10:13 a.m. my time. What's actually happening, and just as important for you to realize, as applicants are filling out this form, Emma is actually capturing that information even before they hit the submit button. And that's important because if somebody abandons this process, let's say they forget to hit the submit button, or let's say they start entering information, but they don't sign the signature pad, or they make some other mistake, we still want to capture those partial applicants, because we want to be able to follow up with those people and find out, like, what happened? Did you not know how to do it? Did you change your mind? Like, what was the issue, right? So part of our strategy here is to gather and capture every single applicant that we possibly can, even if it's an incomplete applicant. So you'll notice here that Bob Jones is, his social security number shows up. All of this information is here, but his status is in progress, which means he hasn't actually submitted his application yet. Now let's pop over here. I've finished the application, and let's submit it. Now, when I submit it, I get a verification. Congrats, welcome to the family. And when I pop over to Emma, notice now that the status of this applicant is now submitted, right? So I know this is actually a submitted person, and this is now a correct application that I can see, all right? So pretty simple. Couple things to notice. This list view shows everything associated with this applicant. I can see that they're brand new with this little green checkbox, which means that nothing has been done to process them. And you'll notice next to the name that there's a little down arrow button. If you click the down arrow button, you're going to see the additional information entered by this person. Not everything fits on this screen. We had more information we're gathering that could be displayed across this list view. And so what we're doing is instead displaying this through a little drop-down panel, so you can open these drop-down panels up, and and you'll see the company and work location and the email address and the phone number for this person all in the record, okay? So if this is a normal applicant and I'm an administrator, I'm going to see this person. They look good to me. The information looks correct. To approve them as a member, all I have to do is check this little green checkbox. And when I do that, it's going to give me a verification. Do I want to create this member and make a PDF of their membership application? I'm going to verify this by saying create member. You'll notice that you get also a message that their PDF record is being generated. And also you'll notice that the little green checkbox has now turned gray. That indicates that we have now processed this member, okay? Now that Bob Jones is a member, you'll notice that his social security number, which used to be in black like this, is now in blue, and it's actually a link. Well, that's actually now a link to that member's member record, right? So I'm gonna hit Control click, and I'm gonna open this person up in a new tab here so that I don't have to navigate away from my screen. And you'll notice here is Bob Jones. Now, a couple things to notice. One, his person type is now a member, so we've established him as a person or as an actual member with the correct person type. We have the basic information that he entered in his application: social security number, the billing mode if you're using that, and in addition, the ABC amount or PAC amount that's been authorized. Also notice that I've just got a notification here that Bob Jones' membership application has now been processed and is created. Now I can click on this link to view that application, or I can pop down here to Documents underneath this member, and you'll notice here is the membership application generated on 4/24. That was the one that we just created, okay? This is a dummy app, so it won't look exactly like yours, but if I open it up, here's the application, and you'll notice the signatures that I entered in are on the form and ready to go. So the process will be exactly like a member sign up that would occur if you had done this directly in Emma, right? So the process is the same. The record gets created, the document gets created with the membership application, and we're good to go, okay? So now Bob Jones is a member, everything looks great, but we still have one more step we have to complete, and that's to assign Bob to the correct work location. Notice that right now, Bob is specified as no location, okay? So again, we talked about this a little bit when we did our introduction to this service, that the member has entered in their work location just as a text field. So if I go back over here to my registration and I take a look at this person, I'll see that this person specified Kroger store 123 as the work location, okay? So what I need to do is make sure that Bob actually gets linked to that correct store. So I go back to employee information. I'm gonna wanna edit this person's information, scroll down the page. Your screens may be laid out differently, but you'll pick the work location or store. I'm going to choose Kroger 123 for this person and move my little video out of the way. I'm going to save that record. And now you'll notice that Bob is correctly oriented underneath the Kroger 123 work location. If I go back to that work location and I open up members and I look for someone named Bob, you're going to see that there is Bob Jones, who I just created today, this exact same record. Okay. So hopefully that process makes sense. I'm going to pause at this point. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to go ahead and post those or let me know. But what I've just walked through is literally just like the basic use case of a new member signing up using the direct member sign up process, and then what an administrator needs to go through to approve that application. I'm next going to go through a couple of kind of exceptions to that, like what happens if scenarios, and we'll take a look at a few of those as well. So let me pause here for a minute, take a look at my Q&A and see if there's anybody that's posted anything that looks like a question. I think we're in pretty good shape. Hang on just a minute. All right, I think we look pretty good. And we'll just kind of keep on rolling from here. Okay, so that's a basic sign up process. Now, a couple of questions that people may ask. One would be, well, what happens when somebody who's already in the database is entered, which absolutely can happen. So let's look at an example of one of those, of what would happen if that were the case. We're gonna go back over here to our Emma system, and let's pick a person who's already a member. Like, let's find a member here. Okay, we'll filter down to members. And let's take a look at Maria Atkins as an example. Okay, let's edit her member record. That'll be fine. This will work. So Maria Atkins already exists as a member in our system. Okay, so what would happen if Maria actually entered in her membership information again? What would we do, and how would we handle that situation? So let's take a look at that by doing this. So let's edit. We're actually going to copy her social. And we're going to go back to her member record for a second. So Maria Adkins, let's go back to our sign up form. I want to refresh this form. One thing that's important, I have this banner here. It's just completed. If I want to enter somebody else, I want to refresh this form so that that banner no longer is there. So that means I have a fresh form that I can fill out. But this time I'm going to fill it out with a social that I know is already in my database. And so I'm going to put Maria Atkins, and I'm going to specify, let's say she works for a Kroger, but it's, you know, the 789 store. Okay, put in her mobile number. We'll put in an email for her. Okay, and we'll go ahead and have her sign up just like she normally would with use checkoff. She'll do a pack authorization. So just like we did before, we have her filling out this form as normal. We'll go back over here to our list view. And again, notice we've already got information about her, just like we did before. She's an in-progress applicant, but we're already tracking and storing that information in Emma. Now she's finished her application, so let's submit it. So her application is now complete. She sent that in. We'll pop over here to Emma and take a look. Now we'll see it's exactly like the situation with Bob Jones. The status is submitted. So we know she's submitted her application, but notice that we already have a linked social security number. With some of these others, we didn't. Like, for example, Mariah Carey here joined earlier in the day. She has an in-progress application, but her social is a brand new one. We don't recognize it, so it's not linked to anything. But with Maria Adkins, we already have her in the database. So what Emma does is it looks for this social. And if this social already exists in the database, it says, hey, I already have this person. So let's go ahead, before we create a new record, let's make sure we don't create a duplicate and we can just link to the existing record, right? So in this case, by clicking on this record, I'm going to pull up this Maria Adkins, and I can see that she actually is already a member. In theory, this could happen, right? An existing member could fill out another application and have that happen. But in this case, we don't really need to approve her or do anything with her because she is, in this case, already a member, right? So she's just basically done a duplicate application for you. The scenario could also exist, and is probably more likely, that this would be a termed member, right? So that they might actually be terminated. And if that's the case, they would come up as a termed member, and then we would decide what to do with them from there. Okay, question just came in. Will this generate a new PDF of her signed application? And the answer is that that depends on what you want, right? If you want that to, then yes, you can approve Maria's new application and create a new PDF, or not. And that's an advantage of having this sign up module. You might have a scenario where you just want the information you already have on Maria is correct. So don't worry about it. Just leave it where it is. But let's say Maria, this might even have been something simple, like suppose she did a new application because she now is authorizing a political contribution. She was already a member, but she went to the direct member sign up form for no other reason than to add a political contribution to her membership. All right, in that case, we would want to generate a new application for her. So again, we can approve her through the, I can't approve her through the approved process. May have to ask Ethan on that one. But we should, in that case, be able to regenerate a membership application for her if we want to. In fact, Ethan, I might let you open up mute and address that one for me, because I may have given an incorrect answer.
So let me clarify that. So if the person is already a member, their sign up is saved in Emma to the database, but it does not go ahead and generate a PDF. And we have the approval process disabled for them. And the thinking there is that somebody might like maybe somebody submits an application where a rep has maybe already signed them up, or maybe they already signed an application at an orientation or something like that, and so that maybe it's just a redundant application. We still save the details, but we assume that if they're already a member, you're not going to go ahead and reprocess that application. But it is different if the person is in your system either as a new hire or a non-member. Um, but as long as they're already in the system, then their sign up record will go ahead and match that, and that application will get processed automatically without a need for an administrator to approve it. And Bill, maybe you want to demonstrate that.
Yeah, we absolutely can do that. I'm sorry, I was actually repeat that question because I was just answering a question on Q&A at the same time. So to make sure I'm demoing the right thing, what would you like me to walk through?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I was anticipating the next thing that you were going to demonstrate, which is if a sign up comes through who is either like a new hire or was a previously withdrawn member, the sign up comes through and it matches that record in your system, what the process is like there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do that. So let's take a situation. We'll go back to our people module here, and in this case, let's find somebody who is a termed member, right? So we have termed members who are here. So Maria Thompson is a termed member, person type of terminated. Okay, and let's go ahead and let's look at the scenario where Maria comes back into our ecosystem again, and she signs up again. Let's kind of take a look at what happens. So we'll do that first by grabbing her social. So we're going to assume obviously her social would be the same. We'll go back to the sign up form. Again, refresh this form. We don't want to make sure we're not seeing that congrats form at the top. Shouldn't be an issue because people are only going to use this form once. But if you're using the form to enter members, you want to make sure you refresh it before you enter somebody in. We'll put in her social. We'll put in Maria Thompson. Can't remember, did she have an H on there? Nope. And then we'll stick in, let's say she is now working for Kaiser, and she works at 567 Main Street location. Okay, her mobile telephone number, and okay, so we're going to go through the process again. Same social person. She signs the membership application, signs dues checkoff authorization, signs a pack authorization, and submits her membership. Now let's go take a look at what happens when we look at this in Emma. Pop over here and go look at our signups list view. Okay, so there's Maria Thompson, and we'll notice that she has her pack authorization that she gave us before. Her status is joined, right? So we've assumed that she is joining, but her person type is displayed as what her person type was in Emma before, right? So we have her as a terminated person already in the system. We've already linked her back to her social security number, back to the existing record that's there. So Maria came in, we matched her up with her existing record. We display that her current person type is terminated, but her status of her new sign up is joined, that she has now joined. Okay, so now I guess we have a decision to make about what we want to do with Maria. And I guess, Ethan, the same question would come up is, do we want to process, and can we process a new membership app for her since she was a terminated employee?
So in this case, since the sign up matched a record that was already in the system, matched by social, Emma is going to go ahead and automatically process that application without the need for an administrator approval.
Okay, excellent. So let's go take a look at that and see what the situation is. If we go back and take a look at Maria and see what the situation is with her, notice what the system has done. Now in the list view, it listed her prior person type. So in other words, she was listed as terminated before she completed this application, but now we've updated her to be a member. So her member type has been updated. And if we go take a look at documents, as Ethan was saying, we have a new membership application now for her automatically, right? So as Ethan was saying, this generates for her automatically. Now, again, we'll talk through these, and if these workflows are not what's ideal for you guys, then we'll have to address them. But our thinking with this is to try to make that process as simple as possible. Since she's already a termed member and we've already found her in the database, there isn't really a need to do any further approval of her, right? So all we really need to do is get the new application, modify her person type appropriately, and then generate the application document based on that. So again, this is happening automatically with her. So we have no further action that we need to take on her, which is indicated by this kind of gray box being grayed out already. And hopefully I'm stating that correctly. Ethan, what else would you add in terms of clarification?
Yeah, one other thing to notice is that also, so for this Maria Thompson, the update to her membership status that was processed automatically whenever her sign-up came in, you'll also find that in the change log. So as an administrator, if you're used to dealing with the change log, you'll see that her status change showed up there. You can either view that there, you can also view that on her individual record.
Yep, by taking a look at, we
So
had her pulled up.
yeah, so you see the changelog navigation down there at the bottom. So you'll see that there's where she went from terminated to member.
Yep, and also her political contribution amount
Right.
was updated, as well as her status flag associated with it as well. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ethan. Thanks for clarifying that. Okay, so we've kind of walked through a few of the scenarios that will happen, right? A brand new member who's not in your database, you have to approve them, right? They will show up like this with a little checkbox that needs to be checked, and you can either check them or not check them, either approve them or not approve them. The approval process in that case, if a record doesn't exist, creates a new record, creates a membership application, and sets the member type, the person type to member, or whatever your local designation is for a newly registered person. It'll vary from local to local. These person types may not be exactly the same, but whatever your designation is for a person type who has just signed an app, that's what it will be sent to. Okay, so that will be the process. That's if there's a new person. If it's an existing person, if it's someone who's already in your database, then as we stated, we'll match based on social security number, and then we will make a decision accordingly based on what needs to be done with this person. If it's somebody who is terminated, which is the most likely scenario, they're coming back to us because they had been a member before, we'll go ahead and generate a new membership app, set them to an active member, no further action needed by an administrator. If they are why don't we walk through the scenario, Ethan, of what would happen if it was somebody on a new hire list. So we import a new hire list, we have the person in as a new hire, and then we have an application fulfilled by them. What would happen in that case? What would the administrator need to do?
So the same thing would happen as if they're a non-member, then their sign up will be processed and they will become a member. But yeah, to be clear, what the change to their status, so their membership status, is configurable. So the default behavior is for them to go to their new status once the sign up is processed to be your active member status. So by default, that's just called a member. The person type is a member. But over the years, we've worked with various locals to have more nuanced configuration. So based on whether they're a returning member or if they're a brand new member, whenever they submit their application, you may want to have some sort of intermediary status that you want to set that person to. I've seen, and every local I've seen, it has some slight differences, but I've seen terminology like initiated member or new applicant, things like that. And we did set this up to be configurable. So if that's something that you need, where you need to conditionally set the new status for the person, reach out to us and we can work with you to get that configured correctly based on what your workflow is.
Okay, so thank you, Ethan. That's great clarification. So please do let us know if there are any aspects of this that are kind of problematic for you. But I think the key to remember here, and what the point we want to get through is, there is an approval required by an admin if a new record is being created in your member database. We don't want to just like create new records without, by somebody filling out a public form without somebody in the admin capacity approving them. And that's what that approval process is. If the person is already in your database, and if we have a match on a social security number, then we will automatically update that information and create the membership application without an administrator having to intervene and approve that process. Now, there are a couple of other scenarios, and then we've got some other questions coming out. One is that, what if you have a situation where somebody doesn't want to enter their social, or they enter a dummy social? There are scenarios that could occur where, my friend Maria Thompson here, let's say she signed up again, but she just felt she didn't put her real social in. She just put and so there wasn't a match. Now, there is that possibility, right? You could end up with a duplicate where Maria signed up once under one social security number, but then signed up again under a different social security number. So how would you handle that type of scenario? Well, Emma's going to allow you to manage that process using the existing people management feature, right? So one reason why we hopefully will have another identifier for Maria would be to know that we have some other way of finding out if this is really a duplicate or not, right? So let's say Maria did that. Let's say she signed up twice with two different email addresses, with two different socials, but she used the same email address. Well, that'll make things easy for us, because we'll be able to see in our people collection that we have two Maria Thompsons, two different socials, but they are the correct, but they're the same person because they share some other common piece of information, like a cell phone number or an email. If that's the case, by going in, and if you're not aware of how to do this, we can go through it. But in people management, you do have the ability to merge duplicate records, right? So in this case, you would just search for, Maria as your person. You would find your duplicate Maria Thompsons, check those two check boxes, and click the merge button, and it would take you through the process of merging those duplicates. Hopefully that won't happen, right? We're not anticipating a lot of. We've tried to design this so that we don't create duplicates in the database. But if it does happen, that would be the one scenario under which somebody could create a duplicate. Then there will be a merge that needs to be done, and that, as I said, that can be done through people management pretty easily to manage the thing. Couple questions that are coming in. What is a little bit about the back end. Actually, one customer has asked about where to find the link to their site. That link for their sign up should be in the support ticket that you sent us. So when you submitted a support ticket saying, please configure direct member sign up, when we responded back and told you that it was up and live, the link is in that response to the support ticket. So go take a look at that in your email or on the Emma support portal, and you should find the link. If you can't find it there, let us know. Shoot me a note afterwards, and we'll get it sent to you so that you know where you're going for your sign up. Okay. Another question that came was a little bit about, this is all the back-end admin, but what about if you're in the field? Well, if you're in the field, you effectively can use this website as you would use either a paper application or as you would use a sign up directly in the Emma iPad. Right. So if I'm out face to face with a member and I want that member to sign up, or I want that member to add a political contribution to their profile, I can certainly do that on my iPad in the field just by giving them the sign up process. But particularly during COVID, of course, our concern is that reps can't get out in front of people, and we have locals that are processing massive numbers of paper applications right now. So instead, what we want to do is try to use this link. And what are the scenarios under which that could happen? We could call, we might have new members we're talking to remotely. We're emailing them, we're texting them. Simply email or text them this link and have them go here and sign up, rather than waiting to do it online or submitting a paper application. Many of our locals do lots of orientations. So if in many of those cases now, they're doing paper applications through those orientations. This is another way to solve that problem. Rather than having them fill out paper applications, they can simply give them this link, and they can fill this out electronically and save the process of doing a paper app. Now, One thing with this also to note is this application is a mobile friendly site. So if you pull this up on your phone, I don't really have an easy way to display it here, but you're going to see the exact same form. Obviously, these fields will be in one column instead of two. The entire application will get condensed, but the signature pads are still there. So anybody with a mobile device, if they're on their phone, you can send them a text, with this link, or the link with your particular local. They can simply click through that link. It's going to open up a browser on their mobile device. They fill in the information, sign with their finger, and submit. And they're doing the exact same thing as they would do if you were face to face with them, with an iPad, doing the sign up that way. So it should be a pretty simple and straightforward process. If people have questions, I'd love for you to post like other scenarios, like are there other scenarios that you see? But I think for reps in the field, think of this as a replacement for a paper application. And think of this as a replacement for you standing in front of a member, having them sign up directly on your iPad in those scenarios where you cannot get face-to-face or don't want to be face-to-face with that person right now. So that would be kind of the simplest and best way to look at this. What else are we missing, Ethan? What else do we need to cover in terms of scenarios or processing details?
I think that that very well covers it.
Okay. I hope that's the case. I just had my little outline here, but I wanted to make sure I didn't miss any major points. We've gotten most of the questions answered. I know Ethan is firing away answers on a bunch of them while they're coming in. What else? We had a message that came in about a hire date, and I think Ethan responded to it directly, but we didn't really respond to it in general. How do you know the hire date, or would this present a problem? So again, kind of philosophically, the way we're designing this is to make it the minimum amount of information that the member needs, and also information that they would readily have available. So if you look at things like hire date, it is possible that the rep would, or the member would know their hire date, but they may or may not know their hire date. And so our thought is, let's not require or request that hire date, because we're going to get that hire date at some other point, either through a new hire list or just by processing this application. The assumption here is that once these people are in the system, we are going to fill in details, right? So if I go take a look at somebody in my sign up list that I've just done, let's go back to signups here. And I look at my, the person I registered Tom Hanks as a new member today, right? So now that Tom is a member, obviously we don't have very much information for him. So the assumption is that one of two things are going to happen. One is at some point you're going to get a seniority list or a new hire list, or something's going to come along that has Tom's information on it. And when that occurs, and when you import that list, it's going to match based on the social, and automatically fill in name, address, hire date, all the other stuff that comes in your seniority list, right? So really what we're trying to do here is just get this person signed up as quick as we can, with the assumption that later on we'll go back and add in all the additional detailed information that needs to go with this person. Our hope is, and I think this is the case for most locals, that information will come automatically when the next seniority list occurs, but it certainly could be filled in manually if it needs to be as well, or if a rep in the field has some of this information, or somebody in the back office does. It can certainly be done. But the
Bill,
idea there is that information would be updated at that point.
Bill, can I kind of
Yeah,
piggyback here?
please do.
Yeah. So so your main 90% of your scenarios here are going to be either you have a new hire or some person existing in your system, and you're going to be receiving a sign up for them. So in which case, when you have an existing record, you should, depending on the source of the data that you got, say like from a new hire list that you imported directly into Emma from a spreadsheet, you would have most likely you would have that hire date information available, so all that information is available, and then the sign up record is really just getting the person's membership application submitted, right? In the case that you have a sign up come in, that doesn't match an existing record in your system. Um, as Bill mentioned, what you could do when you approve that application, you can then go and start to manually fill in the information for that person. But what we can also do, as I mentioned, the person type that they get set to when their application gets processed, we left that something as something that would be configurable. So if you wanted to reach out to us about configuring that process to conditionally set the person to some other person type, some preliminary person type, based on whether there is a higher date value set or not, by all means, reach out to us and we can work with you to get that configured correctly so that as you're processing these applications, uh, if there's not yet higher date data available, maybe they don't go immediately to your active member type. They go to some other person type until that higher date information becomes available. So that's another option there. And then there was a question about an offline version of the sign up app that I wanted to try to address. There is not an offline version of the sign up app, but and I imagine that the reason that question is coming through is because maybe you're anticipating a poor internet connection. And one of the things that we did do with this form is it's designed to be extremely compact. So um, a lot of effort went into making the form very, very compact and something that is able to load extremely quickly, even on a poor internet connection. It's designed to be really, really fast, very, very minimal, and also very secure. So supporting an offline version of the app is something that's a little bit more complicated, but we have been thinking about making sure that folks in areas with kind of spotty internet connections will be able to use this form effectively. And we've also put effort into making sure that it renders well on various devices. You can use it just as easily on a mobile phone, on a tablet, on a desktop computer. It should work well in all those different form factors and should work well with a poor internet connection. And and then one other question, Bill,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
Anthony identified,
notifications. Yeah, I
which
just
is
saw.
yeah.
Yeah, Anthony, thank you. Man, that's a really important one, and we almost blew right by it. So notifications. Let's talk a little bit about how do you get notified when these applications come in. So previously in Emma, there are a variety of different email notifications. You had to ask us to configure notifications for you. If a new membership app came in, you would tell us the email addresses of the people you wanted to receive notifications, and then those notifications, we would set that up for you. We've actually changed that and added the ability for you to control notifications yourself. So how do you do that? If you're an administrative user, go to users, and in any of your user records now, so let's just take a look at my user record, you're going to notice, and this is already deployed, so you'll see this in your system now, that there is a new notifications configuration box inside of each user profile, and you can specify which notifications you want to receive, right? So membership apps, if I select membership apps, that's a normal membership sign up that would happen inside of Emma. So anytime somebody took the Emma application, took their iPad, gave it to a member and did a sign up, that would come through this notification. If separately, we have a designation for direct signups. These are the ones that are coming in on the web. So I can have either or both of these notifications. I've also set myself up for grievance notifications. So I could add these notifications or take them off any profile I want. When we configured this feature, we duplicated your existing settings for you so that you should be set up, except that I noticed this morning we messed one up and I had to correct it. But that's the only one. I think everybody else is set up correctly. So if you want people, now you've got, direct member signups, right? You've got web signups. You may want different people to receive notifications on those. Please, feel free to go to their user profile and add or subtract these. Notifications are sent also for orientations. And for those of you that use the memos to records for function, you can also establish notifications for the memos to records. These notifications are going to go to this email address that is specified in your user profile. So that is important to have an email address there that works correctly as well. So once again, you now have the ability, not just with direct member sign up, but for all email notifications in the system to control who receives those. And you can change them yourself now without having to call us or send a support ticket in. So thank you, Anthony. Thanks for the reminder. That's an important new feature. So another one that came up, I mean, I don't know if anybody else noticed this. I noticed Ethan answered it in the text, was that in this, your member record may not look exactly like this, right? I mean, people have their screens are customized and different things. Keep in mind, this is our demo system, so new features and new things we're working on get pushed here. Somebody asked, what is this select fields box that you see in the upper right-hand corner? And Ethan was saying it's a secret feature. It is actually something that we've been working on. It is the ability to customize these displays on a user by user basis, right? To pick which fields you want to have displayed or to add fields to these displays and make that a configurable option, so that we can have this work however you want it to work. It's kind of it's an in development feature that we're just playing around with.
Yeah.
But
You're looking. This is the bleeding edge of
yeah, that's exactly right, of us playing around with some new stuff. So, but reality is you'll probably see this come out in the product here at some point, where you'll have more control over how you can individually configure these screens for the information that's there. And you'll also probably seen a lot of subpanels here that you may or may not have in your system. Some of these are associated with Emma Dues and the Dues accounting system, and they'll be appearing as people move into that platform. Seeing things like payment histories and charges for members and so forth. So that may be why you're seeing information here that you're not accustomed to seeing as well. Anthony asked one other question, which is there a timeline on embeddable HTML for this form? And I guess, Ethan, you want to take that one? Talk a little bit about it.
Sure. We don't currently have a timeline on it, but it is something that we have talked about doing, and it is we're definitely very interested in offering that as a feature. It's totally doable.
And I should pause and say, what are we talking about when we say embeddable HTML? What that means is some locals may want to embed this sign up form in their website, right? So right now you can just link to it. You can just go to the link, and when the person clicks that link, it'll open a new tab in their browser. They can fill out the membership app. But what if you wanted to just embed it directly in your site so that somebody could fill this out right inside of your website without having to navigate somewhere else? We can give you code that you could give to your web programmer, and they could basically stick that into a page in your website, and it would effectively just embed this form inside of your website. So when we designed this feature, we thought that would be a really cool thing to do. So we added it as a backlog capability, but we also decided it wasn't on the critical path. We're more interested in getting this released. And so we're sort of seeing that as a phase 2 capability. And what will probably happen is we'll just give you an admin option where you can just create that embeddable code that you would then put into your website. So just to make sure everybody understands, when we say embeddable, what does that mean? That's what we're talking about. And as Ethan has said, it's in the backlog. We haven't really committed to a date. I don't know if you want to comment on anything else, Ethan. I guess really let us get back to you on it. Whether that's going to be happening right away, or whether it may be a little bit of time. It may be a little bit depending on how important that is to customers. We obviously have a ton of other stuff we're working on right now that we're trying to kind of slot in from a priority standpoint. Any other thoughts on it, Ethan, you would want to comment on?
Yeah, no, that about covers it. I mean, there are, we would just want to make sure that we do it right, because there are some security considerations that are involved with offering embeddable forms. But it's definitely doable, and I think it's more a matter of where it falls in the order of priority. So.
Yeah, and one final, because we're getting close to the top of the hour. So documentation and training on this. So while we were getting ready for this webinar, I was also madly creating support articles, FAQ articles on how to set up all of this stuff, how to work it, how to do it. In fact, there's some stuff already published in our support site. There will be some more stuff that will get pushed out there today. I think by the end of the day today, all of the documentation associated with this feature should be available online on our website. So you'll have articles that explain, how to set up this feature, how to use it, what the screens mean. Effectively, we'll just be giving documentation on the same things that we just went through on this webinar. I'm going to publish this webinar since it's being recorded, so that people can watch it, or you can send it to your staff if they were unable to attend. I'm also going to be recording some small little help videos just on how to do different things, like how to approve a new member, what to do if there's a duplicate, kind of basic scenarios. I've started some of that recording work. I've got a little more work to do. I'm going to try to get it all done here and have it live for you guys, first thing Monday. But I'll probably send some emails out as we're releasing that information, so you know where to find it. But a good bit of it should be out there, before the end of the day today. So just to know, you will have further documentation, further support information on this feature to help you. Okay, we're 3 minutes from the top of the hour. That worked out pretty well timing wise. What other questions are on people's minds? Any other feedback? And of course, if there's nothing that you want to stick in the chat window here or in the Q&A, feel free to email us. I'm going to make one other kind of comment. I would suggest each of you run a few test people through this form and make sure you understand how the process works before you just toss it loose to all of your reps. It is, well, first we just want to double check and make sure everything's working correctly. I mean, we've tested as much as we can. We've had a couple test customers help us earlier this week. So I think we're pretty solid, but it's never a bad idea to run some test scenarios through. If you have a couple paper apps lying around that you need to process, maybe go through and enter them on this form, approve them through the sign up process, and then add the details in Emma just to make sure things are working correctly. If you do that, I want to caution you to one thing: always refresh this form and make sure it's a fresh form without that completed notification. It's important to make sure that all of the data has been processed out of the form and you have a clean electronic form to start with. So always do a little refresh before you enter a new person. But I would encourage you to take a handful of apps, real ones if you've got them. If you don't have them, maybe enter some dummy people. Keep in mind that dummy people aren't going to end up in your database. You can just put them in the signups collection and they can stay there. But just make sure things are working correctly before you start processing hundreds of applications through this process. So I would encourage you to take a look at that as well. And that's about it. We're right at the top of the hour. Ethan, any other comments or questions or things you would want to comment on to make sure people are good to go?
No, I just want to say thanks to everybody for participating. I feel like there were a lot of really good questions asked already, so appreciate that. Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for just participating in us getting this up and running. It's something we've really wanted to do. A shout out to the team. I mean, the engineering team's working night and day on this thing to get it done and make sure it's solid and that it works correctly. And they did a great job. I'm really proud of them and really happy with that. So we're looking forward to your feedback. Any problems that you guys have, any questions that you have, you know where to find us. Your system should be set up and ready to go. So I would say, go ahead and start processing some test transactions through it, and feel free to go ahead and start working this way. Thanks again for the time. Everybody stay safe out there. And if there's anything else we can do for you, as always, feel free to reach out. Appreciate all your help.